Hey guys, All in Crypto here, and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for what is going to be your daily cryptocurrency market update. I hope you're all having a fantastic Friday. What a boring week it's been for the cryptocurrency market. However, I do believe we are stalling. Sometimes before you jump that hurdle, you don't just want to be square on, you want to take a few steps back before taking a run at it. And I think that's what Bitcoin's doing around this key level. It's currently sat at the 0236, and you've also got this price action that we spoke about. And I think Bitcoin is largely just stalling. It might need a bit of a dip down in order to come and take this level and then move on its way to 35k. Stick to the plan. I see so many people complaining, getting upset that things aren't instantly going in the direction they want them to. If you are one of those individuals and one of those people that don't have a bigger time frame plan, you are not going to do very well in this industry. That I can absolutely guarantee. You are going to stress yourself out, and you are going to do more damage than you are going to do good. Because if you look at a sort of zoomed out time frame, Bitcoin's doing very, very well. Whereas if you focus on the day, it's down, it's red, it's down 0.64, and people get upset with this. However, there are reasons why Bitcoin's stalling at this point, and ultimately, in my opinion, it's just setting up. You might need to come and retest maybe some of this price action down here, potentially, but it's just setting up for that continuation. This is very much an area of resistance you've run into. With all things, sometimes you need to dip down in order to come back up. That's exactly what gold did. And of course, gold is selling off today, which is going to have something to do with things. But actually, I've already done this draw. I think I was looking at this on my Patreons. Bitcoin and gold looked very, very similar. And we got some really interesting things to get into today, guys, from the sort of Secretary Yellen to the Fed's debt to crypto taxes to Ethereum Shanghai upgrade, you name it, we're going to be getting into it, to Bitcoin being a national threat to security. But we looked at this, this is, we'll get rid of the S&P, Bitcoin and gold, right? And you can see that actually gold did a similar thing with how it kind of was topping, and it needed this sharp V-shaped recovery, this dip down to grab this liquidity and sort of create a reasoning for it to do this. And that's what you may be looking at for Bitcoin. So you may potentially get, depending on what the non-farm payroll data comes out at, some sort of sharp dip down and then a follow-up. And then we go and take this level convincingly and head on to 35k. 35k is a target for me. It's been a target really for a long time now. And it's been a possible target since all the way down at 15k. And we've been killing it, guys. We put on our first swing trade of the year a few days ago. If you want to find out more about that, what I'm trading, what I own from an investment point of view, do feel free to check the link out in the description and join the Patreon. So that's really it for Bitcoin. The main event today, of course, is the non-farm payroll. The non-farm payroll, I think, has come over expectations the past 9 or 10 times. Are we going to get a sort of reality check with the non-farm payroll as we're going to see inflation continue to decrease? We're seeing some interesting things in the energy sector. And likely, that the non-farm payroll is going to reflect a weaker number than the ones that we've seen prior. And that's likely going to weaken the dollar, which could actually fuel crypto. So it's going to be interesting. I'm very excited for this number. Stock market is sort of marginally not doing anything on the futures. It's not really known what to do all week. It's not just been boring for crypto. It's been boring also for the stock market. If we look at the weekly candle, I bet it's, yeah. This is your weekly candle. This candle does not know what to do, along with the stock market. The dollar, marginally down. I think the dollar's in danger of putting in a new low. I think it's catching support here because people are going to try and take the double bottom scenario. However, I do think this is going to slip, and the non-farm payroll could be the catalyst. We're watching gold slell off slightly from its advancement, but gold is still looking very, very healthy. It's going to be interesting to see what this number is, and ultimately, we don't know what the number is until we get it, and we'll see what the market's reaction is. This was very interesting. So we've been on this theme all this week talking about the death of the dollar. And the dollar dies because of the debt that's behind it, right? When you have a dollar, that dollar has been essentially borrowed into existence. And what the governments are kind of doing at the moment, and Yellen, they're almost adopting a modern monetary policy, or a modern monetary theory policy, which is that we can just keep printing. It doesn't really matter. And ultimately, you know, we weigh things up on growth rather than anything, and production, and the debt behind all that doesn't really matter. However, problem you've got is it becomes a spiral, and then you end up in this hyperinflationary scenario where if you have $50 trillion worth of debt, you have to pay an interest on that. And we can look at what the Fed's balance sheet is with 3.4 trillion on bank reserves, let alone what the US government's payments on all this debt are. I mean, they're going to have to continuously print money to service the $50 trillion and whatever interest rate that has on it, you know, whether it be 4.5, whatever it is, you know, that's a lot of money, way more than the US makes, that it's going to have to keep feeding into the debt system. So we'll go ahead and play this clip, and then we've got a few more things to go and get into. We saw Christine Lagarde come out yesterday, I believe, talking about the digital euro, which is very interesting. Again, blockchain is really the future. It's going to run everything, financial, social, you know, it's the next sort of arm or leg up for the internet.
You're going to drive the debt from somewhere around $32 trillion up to about $50 trillion, correct?
Yes, but what I believe is the single most important metric for judging the fiscal stance of the country is real net interest as a share of GDP.
Okay.
We have
so are you concerned when
GDP.
you're taking the debt from $32 to $50 trillion? Are you concerned who's going to buy that debt, and also at what rate they'll expect to be compensated for buying riskier and riskier debt? Are you concerned about that?
Well, if the real net interest cost of the debt remains low relative to GDP, and we're on a sustainable fiscal.
Well, we're not on a sustainable.
This is insane what's going on, guys. It doesn't even make sense what Yellen's saying. I don't think it ever has, but at the moment, certainly, there's no way out for the US at this point. It's in a death spiral, and people get upset and they think that I'm hating on the US. I love the people from the United States, you know, and it's not the people, it's not the US citizens I'm addressing here. It's the government. It's insane what's been allowed to happen, and this is very much modern monetary theory in regards to the fact that they're suggesting that they can just continue to print and add debt, and it doesn't really matter, because as long as they can support that debt and all the interest that's on it with GDP and it outpaces it, that they'll do well. Well, the fact of the matter is that isn't the case. We're seeing GDP be very, very weak. You know, BlackRock actually said GDP is going to be crap for the next couple of years. So you're damaging the candle at both, you're burning the candle at both ends, and this is insane. And you've got the point that he raises there, and this is why the dollar's, you had Trump say that he thinks the dollar's done. Right? And I understand, and nobody, by the way, asked anyone's political opinions on the matter or on the guy. I don't really care. Well, what I'm saying is he is, or was, the president. He's obviously somebody that's passionate about the United States. Even he's admitting that it's up. And it's not just him. Look at what's happening with BRICS. Look at what's happening in Brazil. You know, it's insane. People don't want the debt. Who's going to buy that 50 trillion debt? And why the US has maintained its status is because other countries hold its debt and they get paid for doing that. Okay? Well, you're in this situation now where people just don't want that debt. In fact, they'd rather take gold. We saw record numbers of central banks buying gold in 2022. Why? Why are we seeing such a push away from the US dollar? It's because they're just inflating it, and he spoke about it being ever riskier because there's more and more of it. And what you're actually doing, and this is the great game of inflation, which is a tax on everyone, is you're inflating the debt that these people have purchased at a certain price at a certain point. Debt, when there was only 20 trillion, is worth a lot more than the debt that's worth, that's now at 50 trillion, or that's where they're planning on going to. It's really sad to see. This was an interesting tweet from Judy Shelton. Look at the Fed's latest H4.1 statement. They are paying 4.9% on 3.4 trillion in bank reserves. They are paying 4.8% on 2.6 trillion in money market mutual funds parked overnight through reserve repurchasing agreements. Just think the Fed is shelling out an annualized $291 billion on 6 trillion in cash to keep it going into the real economy. It's more than the Fed earns on its own portfolio. So Treasury is advancing fund. how much of the interest being paid by the Fed is going to foreign-owned financial institutions. Absolutely. And you got to think this is just, you know, a way smaller number than the 50 trillion debt that the US government is now coming into. So it's a very scary, interesting time. Again, guys, we're just waiting for the non-farm payroll. The market, it's not even been worth watching the market this week, to be honest, because you've just done this. It's painful. You don't get anything from this. Likely what you get when Bitcoin's doing this is altcoins coming off, because the market just can't decide. And I think maybe you might want to stab down before you advance higher. But we will see. It's going to center on the non-farm payroll. You want that weak number. That's going to... Although the weak number then really kind of fuels on the recessionary narrative, but it will weaken the dollar likely. It's interesting what's going on. Studies claim 95 or 99.5% of crypto investors did not pay tax in 2022. Probably quite a few of those may not have to pay tax. You know, in the UK, we have capital gains allowance that they did have set at, I think it was 11, 12K. Check with your tax advisor though first, guys. This is not tax or financial advice. They've now downed it to 3. The problem with what the UK are doing right now is people like me that can afford to go, I'm not doing that. I'm out of here. I'm going to go and get a citizenship somewhere else, are going to start doing that. And we're actually seeing a real uptick in that. So they're penalizing the people who, you know, can't really afford to do that. And they're the bread and butter, really, of the UK. You know, it's insanity what's going on with the tax hikes. They're also planning on raising taxes in the US, as if inflation wasn't bad enough, as if higher interest rates weren't bad enough. It's an absolute extractory system, the Western world. The US, the UK, Europe, lots of parts of Europe actually are already significantly more advanced in regards to their taxing. And then you could argue that's why some of them, you know, there's certain countries in Europe that are absolutely beautiful. And maybe that's why. But crypto tax reporting likely to skyrocket, just not yet. So this is all to do with regulation. One reason I think they are going to regulate the cryptocurrency market is because they want to tax it at the end of the day. You know, they want to extract money from you. They want you to have to keep your head down and keep working and keep struggling so you don't question exactly what is going on in the bigger picture. Sorry to go on rants like this, guys, but it boils my blood that the US and the UK have been allowed to do this to their citizens. It go back to the medieval ages, and your kings didn't even tax the citizens as harshly as what your government is taxing you in under the sort of guise of a democracy. It's not a democracy, guys. Anyway, so Ethereum holds its price as Shanghai fork approaches. We were supposed to get the Shanghai this month, or March, I should say, actually. We're now in April. But this is set to occur on the 12th of April. And this obviously is going to unlock a lot of Ethereum. Ethereum talks about, let's see if we can find exactly how much Ethereum the market. It's a lot of Ethereum that's planning on basically hitting the mark. I think it's 4 million or something like that, or that's going to be unstaked, or, you know, so there's going to be a lot of Ethereum that's going to become liquid. This could affect the price. However, Ethereum has been doing exceptionally well recently. You know, it's kind of popped out. It looks like Bitcoin again. And can you see how you have this kind of stab down before you take things to the upside? Now you're probably going to test this as resistance, or what was resistance as support. Look for upside. US administration insider Jason Lowry: soon powerful people within the US government will try to assert that supporting Bitcoin is a threat to national security. Here we go again. Of course it is, right? Okay. I mean, it can kind of, you know, it kind of is. It undermines the US dollar totally. But what are you going to do? You know, and if this is what I mean, it's not a democracy, guys. The world that you live in, it's a dictatorship that's disguised under a democracy. You know, do they really give you a fair vote? I don't think they do. You know, anyway, so not going down that rabbit hole, but this is probably going to be a narrative. Why not? You know, you've also got Space Force Commander. I didn't even know that was even a thing, right? Space Force. I thought that was a meme, but apparently not so. talking about how he believes Bitcoin could prevent war and actually be a tool that the US could use. But of course, the US, in their traditional humble fashion, will probably not go down that route. Let's play this quick clip of Christian Lagarde talking about the digital euro, and then I will love and leave you.
Well, I have a question about. Yeah. I'm also a good user of electronic money. So my question, you're introducing the electronic euro, as I know.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
How can switching to an electronic currency help?
Well, two things. Number one, it will be decided in October. So we are preparing the ground. We want to be ready. We want to be trained, but it will not be decided until October 23. Mm-hmm. The reason I'm personally convinced that we have to move ahead is a situation like the one we are in now. We are mm-hmm. dependent on the supply of gas by a very unfriendly country. Mm-hmm. I don't want Europe to be dependent on an unfriendly country's currency. For instance, I don't know, the Chinese currency, the Russian currency, the mm-hmm. whatever. Mm-hmm. Or dependent on a friendly currency, but which is activated by a private corporate entity like, Facebook or like Google or anybody like that.
I'm user of.
So what she's saying is she needs a crypto to compete against what could be the social media networks, which is why they stopped Meta in their tracks, by the way, or Bitcoin or something that they don't control. They want something that they can control they're going to be able to compete with other countries, like what the BRICS are doing, and against cryptos like Cardano, Ethereum, whatever it may be. I just want to leave everybody on this note. There's two sides to every story. What's going on right now in the world, I think people should question, because honestly, the longer this goes on, the more just like make-believe it seems in regards to what governments, certainly the Western governments, are doing. Because anyway, there's always two sides to a story. Always explore both sides. Every single smart person that I know and listen to, they all have one thing in common, and that is that they can see both sides of an argument and they can find points that they agree on both sides and actually come up with which one they think reigns supreme. Whereas what most or a lot of people do, certainly on Twitter, certainly on YouTube, is they have personal feelings towards one side and they will use those personal feelings will block out any merit that maybe the opposition have in terms of an argument. Anyway, all I've got for you guys, watch out for the non-farm payroll. Bitcoin is just terribly boring right now. However, it's boring around a key level of significance. You may need to take that step back from the hurdle in order to run and jump it. However, we will see. We're fine with whatever. Ultimately, we have a bigger term time frame. We've invested for that, and we're now looking to take swing trades to capitalize that. On that note, I'm going to leave you. If you enjoyed the content, like us, appreciate it as a comment, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Thanks a lot for watching, ladies and gentlemen. See you in the next.